Hello, Tiger fans. Welcome to a new season, a new edition of the Perry Thomas Show here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we get back into the groove coming out of COVID and all of these other things that we've had to deal with, moving facilities and different things. It's great to be back with you, joined as always by the head coach, Perry Thomas. The Fighting Tigers get set to open up their season. Coach, thanks for taking a few minutes. It's been a while.
It's been a long while. I mean, it's been, I guess, a couple of years since we've been able to get together and do a show because of COVID and other situations. So it's great to be back. Great to be back in a normal football season and, getting everything rolling again. We'll
start right there, a normal football season.
Yeah.
Never 10 years ago did you think normal football season would mean exactly what it means. And you've dealt with teams having to forfeit back in your high school days. You've been around a long time. You've seen a lot of stuff. Ever anything as weird as going through what you had to go through last year, playing a spring football schedule, a few months later, now you're ready for fall. It's been wild.
Yeah, it's been crazy wild, that's for sure. I mean, we've gone through forfeitures in my career, hurricanes, different things like that, injuries and so forth, but nothing has been like COVID has been. Moving the season from the fall to the winter, because I don't want to call it a spring. We was playing in the winter, and ice storms and blizzards and everything else, and playing a condensed season, and then flipping around basically 3 months later and trying to play a season again. So you're still dealing with injuries from the winter. You also, COVID is still around. So it's been a weird year, but it's been a weird year for everyone. And I think our guys and our university has dealt with it well. And we're just ready now to move forward and let's play some ball.
You talked about that weather, and I thought that was one of the more interesting things of that whole season. Typically, you're starting camp in August, getting ready to play 90-degree days, different things. Last year, you're starting camp in January. It's 30 degrees outside. Yeah. I mean, that's just got to be a culture shock, not only to you, but those kids in pads.
Oh, no doubt about it. They're used to playing maybe into December and November, but and it gets cold, and you might have a little snow, but our first game, we literally had an ice storm, and then we had a blizzard up at Thomas More. So it was certainly different. And it was weird because the last couple of weeks we had so much heat at practice, and some of the freshmen were talking about the heat. And those older guys was like, hey, I'd much rather be out here in this than in that ice and, in 12-degree weather. So it's been weird all the way around. But we've adjusted well, and it's going to be great to have fans back in the stands. We got that a little bit in the Lindsey Wilson game last year, and but not to the magnitude that we can have them now. And it's going to be great just to have a regular fall football campaign. We've been able to get out and go watch the high schools play and all the fans there, and it's fun again.
As we put one little bow on the season a year ago, coming off that schedule, 7 games. You guys dealt with injuries last year. The stuff going on with the offensive line, it was almost, you get to a point where you laugh about it or you cry about it. And you may have been all out of tears by the time you got to the end. It was, you were down to maybe 3rd and 4th string guys. You're moving over defensive linemen. Pretty wild in that regard, but that one thing really almost sabotaged the entire season. You just can't replace offensive linemen at that rate.
Yeah, no doubt. It was a miserable existence. We depend so much on freshmen in our program because of turnover rates and so forth, with bringing in large numbers and even losing staff. And a lot of freshmen have to play for us. And I felt fine about playing in the fall last year, but at the end of that fall semester, a lot of those freshmen aren't there, because they're still in your program, but academically, they're freshmen, and they do what freshmen do sometimes. So you go into the spring with a smaller roster when you're a young group, and we had so many injuries in the box, especially offensively on that line, that we went into a couple of games, those last couple of games, and we had defensive linemen, starter defensive linemen, that were playing both ways. It reminded me of my high school days, and we competed, but that's tough to do. And hopefully we're going to stay healthy this year and be normal with a normal roster and be able to get back to doing things the way you should be doing them.
You talked about it briefly a moment ago, having fans back. This will be the first time that Finley Stadium is open to this capacity. The newly renovated Finley Stadium, the plaza will be pretty much complete. It's pretty much full go. Hopefully, some of the COVID conditions don't scare people away. We'd love to see a great turnout, but we certainly respect those decisions. And it'll be nice to have them back, to have the new facility, the press box, all the above. It's going to be really cool. And here at the beginning of school, it almost feels like it's a rite of passage. That first football game almost sets up, it's the school year, it's here, it's almost a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Football, whether some coaches will get mad about this in other sports, but football is basically the window to your athletics, and it's the window to your university. And it's kicking off on a Thursday night, prime time, a beautiful new facility. Most people have seen it online, but people haven't seen it up close. I'm going to sit in that new stands, and the atmosphere was going to be electric, and it's just a great time to play ball. And I do think it kind of lets you know, it's football season, and it's time for school and everything. It's Labor Day weekend, which I think is when football season should kick off anyway. I think school should start around Labor Day weekend. So I think it's going to be a great night, and I think it's a great time to get back to some normalcy and play some football.
And you've said for years you love those primetime games.
Yes.
Started at noon or started at 6 or 7.
Yes,
That's
what we love to do.
Your time frame. So we'll step away. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll visit with Coach. We'll talk about very few coaching staff changes. Also look at this roster offensively, defensively. And a bit later we'll preview this matchup with Union College as the Bulldogs visit Thursday night to take on Campbellsville University. Stay with us here on the Perry Thomas Show.
The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks all healthy donors to schedule an appointment to give now. With the coronavirus outbreak, it is important to maintain a sufficient blood supply. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
I think it's just vapor and flavors. It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes.
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org.
Worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR, it's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should.
Whatever gets you talking. Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Whatever gets you talking. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Myth. I can party with people as long as they don't have symptoms. That myth is false. As we've seen, up to 40% of people who have COVID-19 are asymptomatic and can pass it on to others. So I'd recommend avoiding any social parties, especially indoor ones. If you want to try to socialize but reduce your risk, I'd recommend meeting outside in small groups, continuing to wear a mask, and socially distancing from others if you can. Then together, we can keep COVID-19 out of school.
For ways to keep your community safe, go to backtoschooltogether.com.
Wash your hands, stay home, cover your cough. It's our new reality with COVID-19. The anxiety can be overwhelming. If you're feeling extra worried, you're not alone. You can still contact a mental health professional. They're ready to help you get through this. And remember, prepare, focus on the essentials. Protect, keep some space from people outside your home, and disinfect a lot. Get the facts at kycovid19.ky.gov. Prepare, protect, disinfect.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we visit with the head coach of Fighting Tiger football, Perry Thomas. The Tigers set to kick off with Union College tomorrow night. That's a 6 p.m. kickoff. You can catch radio coverage beginning at 5:45, television coverage at 6 p.m. as Campbellsville trying to pick up win number 1. First time in a few years you've had that primetime game, but let's talk about the coaching staff, Coach. We didn't get to sit in these chairs a year ago and kind of preview this thing like we normally would. Last year, fairly new coaching staff, all but one, I think, back from the previous coaching staff. The good news is, without going too far back, all those gentlemen returned except one. You replaced them with Mike Griffiths. So it's now a staff pretty much entering year 2 altogether, and I know that's got to be a good feeling for you.
Yeah, keeping the continuity of our staff is a big thing for us. I mean, I think it's the most important thing in our program. You know, we talked about before we came on the air, the years we're very successful are the years that we're able to maintain our staff. Those guys that stay here 3-4 years, we're able to keep our guys that we bring in, our retention rate, and we also don't miss a class. We're able to recruit well in our recruiting class. whenever you lose 3 or 4 guys from a staff, you're already affecting your retention and you're affecting a recruiting class, basically. You're going to lose a class. So it's huge to keep these guys, especially when you have quality guys. The staff I have now, in place over there that we have is tremendous. They do a tremendous job, and they're great recruiters. They do a good job of retaining their guys, and they're good for this university and what we're all about as a mission here at the university.
Walk me through the offensive staff. Coach Chris Pardue returns. A lot of Tiger fans will remember the name. He was here for a few years, decided to return to the high school ranks. You're able to bring him back out of retirement. You did a good job recruiting there and bring Coach Pardue back out of retirement, so to speak. But him, Forrest Garner, your offensive line there. Mike Griffiths you bring in at wide receivers, and that's a familiar name, obviously Hunter Brown. But, touch on Pardue and Griffiths, 2 guys at the high school level in this area, very well known.
Yeah, so Chris, actually I started my career with Chris years ago at Allen County, Scottsville. And when I was fortunate to get this head coaching job, I guess that'd been 2008 season, Chris came on as our OC, and he was continuing to teach, so he was part-time, but he was our offensive coordinator. And people remember, we lit the scoreboard up that first year. Greg Fountain was our running back, and he was our first-team All-American, led the nation in rushing. But we also had some receivers out there like Stan Warren Huffman and Juwan Brewer and some of those guys that were tremendous athletes. And, Stan, if Stan had been healthy and played all 4 years, nobody would touch his records, as good as receivers as we've had here. He was that good. And, Chris was able to light the scoreboard up. We won Victory Bowl and was Victory Bowl runner-up during his time here. And then he went back to high school to finish his retirement. Fortunately, he's back with us now, and he retired. So he's going into his 2nd year with us, and very familiar in the state. He's a legend in the state as an offensive coordinator. Did great things at Boyle County as the OC over. I think they won 6 state titles, runner-up once or twice, and also head coach at Mercer County and Boyle County. So very known name and very capable of just taking the offense and running it. And then we lost Tyus Alcorn, our receivers coach, and Mike Griffiths was retiring from Greene County. And we was able to pick Coach Griffiths up, and once again, very known name in the community and in the state as a whole. He had coached in his younger days at University of Kentucky some, and at Eastern Kentucky University. Head coach at Marion County and Greene County High School, and does a tremendous job. Energetic coach, brings a lot of passion to the game, real good with the guys, going to be an outstanding recruiter. And he's a guy I think that will hold in the program. So we're excited to have him. Forrest Garner's entering his 2nd year with us. He's an offensive line coach, very familiar with NAIA, played at Southeastern down in Florida. And then he's coached for a couple of years at the University of Cumberland, and he does our O-line. And then, of course, Hunter Brown, who's a legend, at the university, owns most of the passing records and recently graduate. He's not only our quarterback coach, which is huge for us because we have young quarterbacks, but he's also our recruiting coordinator. And one of his areas is Louisville, and one of his areas is Tennessee, and he's able to go in there, with his age and his approach and his swagger from having so much success, and he's brought some good players to us already.
I would have to think when you walk into a high school, especially if you're recruiting a quarterback, you point to your name at the top of the record book.
No
that's got to help you sell the program here at Campbellsville University. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the football, Coach. You've got some familiar names, a couple of alums or at least former Tigers there in the linebacker spot, Matt Atwood and Robbie Gribbins, of course, and then you've got Brighton Hill there up front, Derek Burnett, I believe, secondary. So this group all back for year number 2 here, at least together. Again, that's that continuity you were talking about.
Yes, and that's what you want. And you can already tell a difference in the program with that, 2nd-year guys. Brighton Hill's our defensive line coach, a guy that played at Bethel a little bit before finishing his career at South Carolina. He's actually been a college D1 strength coach, and then decided to coach, and he's coached at all levels. He's coached at various levels, high school and NAIA and D2. And he's doing our defensive line 2nd year in a row. Then you have Robbie Gribbins, who's a linebacker coach for us. Robbie, I think when he played here, he led the league in tackles, during his time here as a linebacker. He's a Iraqi war vet, and Marine, and he coached defense coordinator, I think, over at Campbellsville High for 4 or 5 years, I can't remember, but he's doing our linebackers now. Did an excellent job last year. Our 2 linebackers were studs. And then Matt Atwood's been with us 9 years now, and I think played here went to high school for a while, and he's returning. He's actually, he along with Mike run our kicking game. Matt was our receiver coach for a number of years. Now he's moved to outside linebackers for the second year, and everybody knows Matt, and he does a great job. And then Derek Burnett, who played in NAIA ball, played at KCU. Some people may remember he was on those good defensive teams they had during a time there when we were really good. You know, it was games like 15-14 wins, those type of deals, or we would lose 15-14, have good defensive football. He coached at Limestone the last couple of years, and he's been with us now the last 2 years, and he does a tremendous job. And, you know, this staff as a whole is just a tremendous staff. You know, I think I really like everything about this group. You know, they work well together. They're very passionate about Campbellsville University. They're very passionate about the students we have, and they're also very passionate about the profession of being a professional football coach. And you know, these guys, they just do a tremendous job. And you know, we had a staff meeting before I came over, and it's all about, you know, how can we get better. It's not about me or you or anything like that. It's about the program and those young men, and I'm excited about that.
Could you have any more energy at that linebacker spot than Robbie Gribbins and Matt Atwood?
Yeah,
that might be illegal in some states.
I know, and I have to settle them down. You know, Robbie and Derek actually run our weight room too, and you know, those kids just love it in there with them. And I'm a weight guy, and I stay out of there. I stay out of there. But yeah, they've done a good job. A lot of excitement, and you can look at them, and they're still fit and young and got all the energy and stuff. So me and Chris, we just kind of stay over and let them guys run things.
Well, it's good to have that energy. And
Yeah.
if you know Robbie, if you've been around him or Coach Atwood, certainly two guys that are full of life, full of energy, to say the least. We'll step away, take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of the players on this 2021 Tiger football team. We'll discuss Union College as that matchup is coming your way tomorrow night, Campbellsville and Union from Finley Stadium. Stay with us here on the Perry Thomas Show.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wash your hands, stay home, cover your cough. It's our new reality with COVID-19. Physicians and public health professionals are trying to protect us because our healthcare system would be overwhelmed if too many people get seriously ill. We have to take their advice seriously. So, prepare, focus on the essentials. Protect, keep some space from people outside your home. And disinfect a lot. Get the facts at kycovid19.ky.gov. Prepare, protect, disinfect.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. How could you not love him?
The Perry Thomas Show continues here on the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you once again as we get set to dig into this matchup. The Fighting Tigers taking on Union College at Finley Stadium Thursday night. It's a 6 p.m. kickoff, 5:45 for radio coverage with Zach Clements and Brett Sal. Khalil Baker, the former Tiger, and I will have television coverage for you at 6 p.m. Coach, the off-season, the shortest of your career.
Yeah.
Normally it's spring ball, a few practices. How's it been different? Here you are gearing up for a new season. You had just a few months, the off season, to get ready over the summer, right into camp. You mentioned the injuries have been more difficult to get guys healed up coming off that late season, but this is certainly kind of a no man's land in terms of preparation.
Yeah, and the fortunate thing is everyone's going through it. that's in the league. But it's been definitely different, and it's been difficult. It's like you haven't had a break. We just finished, and you are dealing with guys with injuries and so forth. I do think our guys have been very energetic, though. I thought there would be some burnout when we got them back and they showed up for camp, but I haven't witnessed any of that. I think our guys have been ready to go. Our coaches, I thought that maybe there'd be a little burnout with those guys, but they're ready to go also. And even myself, I think it's been good. I think our guys have started well, I should say. I think part of it may be the fact that we had such a tough year that we want to get that taste out of our mouth, that bad taste. So maybe that's, motivating us and pushing us forward. But still, it's not a good thing, I know some sports do it all the time, but football is just a different beast. It's just a different animal. And it's tough to play that season in the winter and the spring and then turn around 3-4 months later play again. You think about it, if you tear an ACL, at the beginning of the season, you're basically going to miss 2 seasons. Unless you're fortunate to make it back, or if you break a bone or something. So we had a lot of guys to go through that, and most of them we've gotten back, but there's a couple still out dealing with that.
Coach, let's talk about the offensive side of the ball here as we get set for this matchup with Union. Just touch on some guys that you are counting on. I know the offensive line was banged up a year ago. It has a chance to be a really good group for you this year. There are some names that have been in this program for several years now. You've got a big transfer running back, Dante Sipp from KCU, that a lot of guys, he's played in a couple games against the Tigers. You had John Crothers last year that kind of did that. Dante Sipp from conference now will do that as well. Walk me through some of that. Tate Pringle back. Quarterback play will be key. Josh Meglis looks to be getting the nod tomorrow night. So walk me through some of that stuff.
Yeah, so we went into last winter thinking our line could be a plus for us, and then we suffered all the injuries, so we never really got to see those guys together. But I do feel good about the guys we got up there. You got some experience with Kadala Sander, who's been here a while, and it's been played on a couple of good teams for us and some bad teams, but it's been here a while. Lane Bottoms has just become a beast. He's a grown man, local kid. Ethan Gossage, another kid that's been in the program a while. Charlie Spencer. So those guys, they got some experience, and if they can stay healthy along with the other guys with them, I think we can have a pretty solid O-line. Tate Pringle was a special players for us in the spring, and I think there's no reason for him not to be special now. He also serves as our punter. He can fake them and take them to the house at any moment. Big, strong receiver, kind of puts you in the mode of when we had that big, huge receiver core with Alcorn and Chapman and all those guys. He kind of fits in that mode with those guys. And then, of course, the Sipp kid, at tailback, a grad student, that knows the NAIA football, knows Mid-South Conference, played at Kentucky Christian, graduated, has season left. So he was a 1,000-yard rusher 2 or 3 times, all conference in that Appalachian League, I guess it is. And so he's a tremendous football player. He already knows. But the thing is, we got 3 or 4 other backs back there too now, and that's one thing we haven't had the last few years. And especially last year, we struggled at that running back position. So having 3 or 4 really quality running backs will take pressure off the offensive line, and it would also take pressure off your quarterbacks. And then your quarterbacks are returning, Chase Elmore and Josh Meglis. Josh will be starting tomorrow night, but Chase Elmore also back. So we feel good about those guys. They're still need to get some more experience, but once again, having that offense, those running backs is going to help us tremendously on both passing and running the football.
Yeah, sounds certainly promising, exciting there from the offensive side of things. Defensively, Coach, up front, going to have some new kids. Both the first 2 levels there, defensive line and the linebacking core. I think you can make the argument that the 2 places on a football team, if you want to have veteran leadership and experience, offensive line and maybe the secondary, you've got that. That secondary returns for you, and hopefully they can hold up the back end and help out some of those young guys up front.
Yeah, and we'll need them to. We feel really good about our corners. Malcolm Walker and Kobe Reese, they're 2 of the better in the league. And then also Chance Lucas at safety. All of those, 3 of those have great experience for us, and we have some tremendous young guys backing them up. Some tremendous that we need to hold on to that would be special defensive backs. As we move up in the boxes where you get a little, don't know yet. Grover Russell returns up front. We know he can play with anybody in the country. So we're great to have him back. And then after that, you got some new guys up front that we're just going to have to see how they play in the game. Linebacker, you lost Carruthers and Bennett. So now you have a couple of freshmen in there playing, and Cale Hagan returns back in there, and then when Elias gets healthy, he'll be in the mix, and he's got some experience. So we'll be a little young in that box of spots, but those guys are athletic and they're hungry and they're tough. So I think we can compete. We're not going to know until we get in the game, though. We've done well in camp, but we got to get in the game and find out what we can do against someone else. And then it's my job as a head coach and a DC to put together a game plan to put those guys in a position to compete.
And it'll be the first time that you'll compete against the Coach Luttrell team from Union. I think he took over last year, so talk about getting thrown right into the fire, that COVID shortened year back in the winter there, spring, and trying to roll all that into a football season, make it all work. He comes to Campbellsville for the first time as the head man. What do you expect to see out of that Union Bulldog?
Yeah, and it's really hard to know, because they lost the offensive coordinator, Jake Russell. Was their offensive coordinator. He took the job at Kentucky Christian, and certainly we wish him well, Fighting Tiger up there. But it's really hard to know. You think they're going to do similar stuff to what they did last year, and that's what you prepare for. But with the new OC in their second year, new personnel in a couple of spots, they could come in and change everything. So we don't know, but we're going to prepare like we were playing them in the spring. And then, if you're sound, it should take care of other things. But it is hard to really know. At first game's always tough. For them it's a little easier because we have the same DC, we have the same OC. What they're worrying about is where our personnel may be changed. But for us, it's a little harder.
And, you took that last question out of my mouth. Jacob Russell, he goes from Union, kind of it all blended together here. It's a great time to get it in since we don't see KCU on the schedule this year. But Jacob spent some time down south, I believe at Weber. Then made his way to Union, spent a few years there, and parlays that into a head coaching job. And the funny thing is about the whole Jake Russell situation, he left high school and went to play baseball. And you pulled him back into football. And I think certainly it's paid off for Jake. We're tickled to see that. And I think he's your first pupil to be a head coach at the college level, at least at Campbellsville University, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know. We got a lot of coaches out there, but he's the first one, I think, and he'll do a tremendous job. Jake's once again, his statue, his name will recruit. I think he'll run a classy program, and he'll do an outstanding job. And we have a number of guys that connected with CU, but connected with me and our program since we've been here that became head coaches this year. Josh Dean has been the head coach for a while. He coached on our staff. But Vince Brown took over a program. He was our linebacker coach a few years ago. Rick Garris, who our OC, took over a high school program. So I'm excited for all those guys. Hunter Cantwell's rolling up there at Christian Academy of Louisville. I'm just excited for all those guys to continue to go and continue to get things done. But certainly we wish Jake all the success in the world in his approach up there at KCU. And, hopefully we don't ever face him unless it's in the playoffs. If it's in the playoffs, that would be a great time to face anybody.
Well, we'll root for Coach Russell every game on the schedule except one, potentially, if we get there. And I think my mom still owes Coach Brown a spaghetti dinner. He left before we could get that taken care of, but congratulations to all those guys. Coach, best of luck tomorrow night. It's always exciting. Love to see Tiger football take the field there and come out and join us. The new Finley Stadium there, newly renovated. We'd love to see as many of you Fighting Tiger football fans as possible come out and join Campbellsville for this season opener with Union College. 6 p.m. the kickoff tomorrow, Thursday, September the 2nd at Campbellsville University. Thanks to Coach for joining us this week. We'll see you next time on the Perry Thomas Show.